All right, welcome to class. What we're going to do today, Puzzle Box 2 Lab, which is more about learning reverse engineering process. And to do this, we're going to use multimeters to go through boxes with unknown items in them, and then try to create schematics for them. So how do you do this? Well, start by the multimeter. You're going to set it to resistance, the thing that looks like the horseshoe, Greek letter omega. Next thing, for the boxes today, the first set of boxes only contain resistors. Well, these boxes contain resistors, capacitors, diodes, and transistors. And so you're going to learn how to detect more items. Okay, just like the last lab, here's the data chart. The boxes have 6 test points, so there are 6 rows and 6 columns to represent those. And once again, we have the fence going down diagonally. That is where the meter leads would be together on the same test point. So they not pertinent information. I said it should always read zeros when you do that. But it makes a nice fence because you want to be able to tell when you go through items where you have something that has polarity, that being where you get a reading in one direction and you don't in the other direction. That happens with capacitors. That happens with diodes and transistors. So here's how you do the lab. You start by picking one of the 2 meter leads. Doesn't matter if it's the black or the red, but got to pick one of them that you leave in place, the anchor lead. And here showing us in this particular picture, I picked the black meter lead, and it's in test point 1. And the next thing I do is I go through and go 1 to 2, then 3 to 4, 5, 6. And then I move that black lead to 2 and do the same thing. So here's an example chart where I've gone through the entire box, and here's the readings I got. From point 1 to 2, I got 100 ohm reading, and notice I have it in both the first row and the second row. And I also have 100 readings in from point 2 to 3 and from 3 to 4. But additionally, I got a 0 ohm reading in there. And more importantly, I have an 8 million ohm reading from 1 to 3. And then down there between 5 and 6, I wrote it as capacitor. Well, what's that? Well, capacitors read in one direction only, but they read as negative ohms because the capacitor will have a charge. So you read that as negative ohms. So what you got to do is this 8 million reading, well, that indicates a semiconductor. That's something with high resistance. And notice that you only read it one direction. You get a very high resistance reading one way, you get nothing the other way. That's a diode, or it could be half of a transistor. So what you want to do on this lab is you go fill in the chart, and then you interpret. Anything where you get resistance readings both directions, well, that's a resistor. Something where you got a negative reading in one way, but you got no reading the other way, that's a capacitor. If you get a really high in the millions of ohms reading one way and you don't get anything the other way, that's a diode or possibly a transistor. That's how you do the lab today. That's all for now. Have a great day.